Good morning. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, can hear you, Joe.
Perfect. Hey, Dan. Good morning. How are you?
Good, yourself?
Doing all right. Doing all right. Just make sure I can get on here. So Scott's supposed to be on this morning. So you got a busy day over there today, Dan?
Oh yeah, as usual, every day.
Yeah.
Got out of here about 8:30 last night.
Wow. Well, it's good to be busy.
That's right.
We're, by the way, that property, we're still trying to look that up. We've
Okay.
got some information. I called the town, and let me turn my camera on here. So I called the town, and I don't have the address for the people down in Florida, but Peter's supposed to be looking up the rest of the information on it in regards to who the bank is on that, and then and we're trying to also see who else is related to these people. I did get a couple of phone numbers, but one was wrong and the other one was disconnected.
Okay.
So
I appreciate your help.
Family members. Yeah, it's just, if it's been vacant that long, it may be a little tough. 10 years is a long time.
Yeah.
But and by the way, on the county tax records, it has the taxes or the mailing address going to the exact same place.
Yeah, when I called the treasurer yesterday, that's what they told me. I was a little surprised.
Yeah, I said, is anybody in Florida? Goes, nope, that's all we have right here. So I wonder if there's somebody local. I don't know, maybe still getting the mail, which I find that odd after all these years, but I don't know.
Yeah, well, appreciate your help with it.
Yeah, we're still trying, so just to let you know. And you know.
Hey, Andy.
Well, good morning, sir. How are you?
Good, yourself?
Can't complain. It's gonna be a busy couple days, so then I get to go camping in the rain with my kid on Friday night. Scouts
Oof.
thing.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
It'll be fun. At least he's back in school, so I have some peace and quiet, so I can get some.
Morning, Andy. How the heck are you?
I'm good, Joe. How are you?
Doing all right. Doing all right.
Another day in paradise. You guys are on early.
No, you're late.
Oh, is that what it is? I could be.
No, you're not. I wanted to make sure you get on. I always start around 8:35, 8:30-ish, and then I realized, because I kept registering and it kept saying, okay, re-register. And I said, you know what? Maybe they sent me a link on a different, they emailed me a different link. I go, oh my God, they did.
That's funny.
That was after like 10 plus minutes of going nutty. And I was about ready to call you. I'm like, what the heck, man? And that's when I looked.
Well, at least you found it. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
It's good.
Scott's supposed to be getting on. He's in Maine right now.
Yeah, he said he was going to be out Maine way. When I saw him at the last meeting at the pizza place that we did.
Yeah, he's up in the middle of nowhere land over there. So he has to go somewhere where they have, I don't know if the rec area or whatever, where they have actual Wi-Fi so he can actually talk and be able to use internet.
Nice. There's nothing wrong with that.
Oh, man.
I got a hedge fund guy coming on my podcast today. It should be interesting.
Really?
Yeah. It's a family office hedge fund that does real estate. So
where are they located?
Hawaii.
Wow. So
he's getting up at 5 in the morning to do he's getting up at 5 in the morning. Our podcast recording starts at noon our time, and it's 5 a.m. his time. He's nuts.
Are they 6 hours behind or 7?
I think it's 7.
I thought it was 6.
Oh, maybe it's 6. I don't know. Either way, it's early because when we tried this last week, and they had a huge windstorm come through, He had no internet. He was trying to do the interview from a cell phone.
That's the worst.
And he kept disconnecting and stuff. I'm like, Andrew, I appreciate this, but let's reschedule, buddy. When you have real internet.
Wow.
So, and he was helping with some of the relief efforts for Maui with Zasha Smith and some others out there that live in Hawaii, and people were donating stuff nobody wanted. Like the only thing that went was not even blankets. The only thing that went was water and food. Like there was probably 1,000 tons of garbage that got donated that they just can't use.
Wow.
Like they were taking dump truck loads of brand new jeans, brand new shirts, blankets, all this stuff. You're in freaking Hawaii, man. The temperature's 80 to 90 degrees all the time. What do you need blankets and jeans for?
Shorts and t-shirts.
They didn't even want those. They didn't want any clothes. They didn't want any of that stuff. They just wanted food and water, and that was it. And all this other donation stuff, they're like, stop sending things. Just send money, because that's people are going to get what they want to get. Just send money. Be done with it.
Wow.
Crazy.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, a little over the top, but hey, whatever. It's fine. It's the thought that counts. That's what I kept telling him. I'm like, Andrew, it's not that big of a deal.
It's a good problem to have.
Kinda, yeah. Yep.
Oh, man. Like a quiet morning. Actually, after the Zoom calls is when everything just starts to go.
Yeah, well, it's nice having him start school an hour earlier now too, because I can actually work my work day. Like I don't have to start at 8 and then stop at 8:30 to take him to school and then start again at 9 when I get home. I can just take him. He's in and starting school at 7 now.
Wow.
So, yeah. So and he's in 5th grade, so it's like just drop him off and be done with it and just work my day the way I used to.
I know you get on here, run off, and then be back. It was amazing. You did that.
Yep.
Very impressive. But sorry, I know everybody starts calling me, and I don't understand why people don't realize that I do the Zoom meeting. I say, don't call. You know, I'm 8:45, 8:46, my phone starts ringing.
It's funny.
It's already been going off. By the way, we're on the home stretch on closing.
Oh, it still hasn't happened?
No,
No.
it was all the attorneys. Commercial real estate. The attorneys were the worst. Oh my God, the roadblocks were just ridiculous. They weren't communicating, you know, especially if you have a couple of them working in the same office and they weren't communicating with each other. And, you know, we're literally, I mean, it's definitely going to happen very, 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 very fast. They're already trying to set up the close date. So there's just a couple of curatives, but I'll tell you what, this was the biggest pain in the neck. Ever since we started this, we've, you know, besides all the residential stuff, we closed that one storage facility, and we're another week and a half to 2 weeks away from closing our second storage facility. And then today, I'm hoping to put in an offer on an RV park and possibly another storage facility. All
nice.
While waiting for an apartment complex.
Nice. Well, I've got a couple of cousins with a bunch of cash sitting in a pile, so if you need money, I can probably find you some.
Really?
Yeah. They want to start doing real estate investing stuff. So I'm like, I will find you people who are trustworthy to partner with if you're serious about actually doing it.
We're looking for, I don't know, depending, I don't know if people are going to hold paper or not, but we're looking, I don't know, we're going to see what's going to happen here. So it's going to get very interesting here very fast, but I don't count my chickens until they hatch.
No, I'm with you. You don't want to let all the cats out of the bag, especially when it's being recorded and it's going to be up on YouTube.
Oh yeah, I forgot about
that.
The
Close to the vest, Joe.
I forget.
It's all right.
I'm not used to
Joe,
being.
Joe, make sure you talk with my father regarding the RV park. You know that he used to own a couple of them.
I know, I remember the one up in what was it, New Hampshire or something, or
Right on the border of New Hampshire and Massachusetts.
yes, I remember. That was a fantastic deal they got. He still wishes he kept it.
Yeah.
That was how Bob Morgan got his start too. Gary Dutton did all of his work for all the surveying for all of his mobile home parks, RV parks, all that stuff. And yeah. I remember when Morgan Properties was 10 RV parks, 12 RV parks back in 2008 and a few apartment complexes.
Wow.
Yeah. They expanded very rapidly.
You think?
Before the end. And now the rebuilding has begun.
Wow. Wow. Shane, is that you, Shane? The famous Shane Chapin? Or is that a different Shane? Well, oh, it's Shane. All right. I'm like going, is that Shane from Florida? All right. I just wanted to make sure.
I don't know if I've ever seen him on one of these calls, which is weird. But
yeah, I know. Yeah, Shane is so busy right now.
He's traveling all over the place. He's been posting like from I don't even know where, not Indiana. Where was he? He was in Alabama.
Yeah, Alabama, because we closed one in Alabama. We closed the one in Indiana.
Maybe he was in Indiana then. I don't know.
He was
streaming from it.
Yeah,
he was doing his walk and looking at the fake security camera, and he's like, "This fake security camera."
Oh man, that one is yeah. I'm excited about that one. That's I can't wait till that closes. So let's see here, but I don't know if Shane's in Texas now or someplace else. I don't even know. Scott knows more than I do.
I think he's in Florida right now because I talked to him a couple of days ago and he's walking his daughter's dog, so it must be in Florida or something.
Oh, there you go.
Probably on the beach.
Yeah.
Oh man, how are you doing there, Gabe?
I'm doing all right. A little stressed right now trying to close on this Texas deal right now. Maybe Scott's going to talk about it later. It makes me lose whatever hair I have left right now. Let's put it that way.
If it was easy, everybody be doing it, and it's not, and be glad it's not easy, but the payoff is just immense.
I know, but it's days like these I wish I was back in the restaurant because I could handle that stress as opposed to this one right now.
Well, this is the kind of stress where you really have no control over it. There's nothing you can do to shift the needle until it's time, right?
Sure.
So
yeah.
In the restaurant, you could hit somebody with a spoon and get them to work, and it would all be fine, right? So
yeah, right. I can't hit my dog, so yeah, you're right.
Oh man, yeah, it does get frustrating, but Scott told me yesterday, and it was true, those who are working on a few deals, he goes, Joe, for the one deal, it's worth 10 of your real estate deal. It's easier, the one deal. And he's right.
Yeah.
Even just a few of them. It's just some of the nuttiness I'm dealing with when it comes to dealing with commercial versus residential. I got a couple of stories that was going on for the last 3 days. And I'm like, really? I'll tell that. I got to remember to even tell that story. Just, yeah. So,
Yep. We can compare notes, Joe. I know, with the storage people.
It creates cool stories for later, though. That's the important part. Life lessons.
Yeah, it does. It sucks when you're going through them, but I'll tell you what, I'll take this over mixing cement any day.
Yeah, no doubt.
So,
Daryl True started a house down the road from me, and I'm looking at it every day as I drive by, as the guy's there setting block, and I'm like, don't miss even coming onto job sites to do measures or anything anymore. I'm good. And there's no basement. It's the weirdest thing. It's all crawl space.
really?
It's this massive thing, and it's all crawl space, unless they're just doing the garage to start or something. But if it's a garage, it's huge.
That's a big garage.
Huge.
Yeah, I never see, yeah. Typically garages don't have crawl spaces.
No. Well, it could just be because they didn't like excavate a lot. They just moved stuff around. Like there's no compacting. They still haven't put gravel down on the interior of the footers. Like the block is probably 3 feet high now all the way around, and there's no gravel. They didn't dig other than for the footer. That was the only site prep they did. I was very like not used to what I used to sell to Daryl when I was out of 84 in Victor, and never seen him do anything like this before.
Well, go over there and just say, just mention OSHA. Watch them all freak out and leave the site.
I
8 o'clock.
haven't seen a single hard hat, so you're not wrong.
If they show up, it's 8 o'clock in the morning. Everybody goes right to lunch.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, we're gonna get started here. I don't know if Scott's on or not. I know it's
Not
a couple
yet.
minutes.
There's
Okay.
only 8 people on right now, actually, which is
Yeah,
weird.
I know. So, sorry. Usually morning's gonna be a light.
First week of school, maybe. I don't know, but some people had first day today too, which is weird. But
yeah, so some of them are taking their kids to school and doing all that. But I don't know. Scott's supposed to be joining us. You know, he's early for being late, so it's only like 9. It's only a few minutes after 9. So he may end up popping on. Just that way, for those you don't know, Scott's actually in Maine right now, in the middle of nowhere. I did speak to him yesterday. In order for him to be able to even make a call or even get on the internet, he has to go down to where I don't know if there's like a clubhouse or whatever it is there, where they have Wi-Fi, because he's so far in the middle of nowhere. There's barely even a cell phone signal. So, but we'll get started here. Hopefully he'll join us. All right. So I think most of us pretty much know each other. We'll see here in a second here though. But this is the DealMasters group. We focus on everything having to do with real estate. No tenants, no toilets. Tenants and toilets is a whole separate other meeting. And by the way, this is what I like about this. It's a small group, so we like to keep this interactive. Okay. So it's not just about, one person talking. We want to be able to learn off each other and be able to also communicate. And most importantly, there's a chat box. Make sure all of you put your information on there. Okay. Because I want people to be able to connect with each other. Okay. That is very, very important. Don't forget to do that. Okay. A couple things there before we get started here. I know I want to talk about next week is going to be the main meeting. Okay. And that meeting is going to be at Eagle Vale Country Club. It's going to be investors who are under 30 years old. There's going to be a panel there. I think usually starts around 5:30ish. And the panel starts at 7 o'clock. It'll probably go for right around 45 minutes. The most important part of that whole entire event is the networking. Okay. Just so we understand, I know one of the guys going to be talking. He's 19 years old. He owns 30 units. He started buying when he was in school. Okay. So I remember his name is Zach. I know he's just started. I think he was watching school on Zoom with the volume off, but listening to real estate. Okay. 16, 17 years old doing that, which is fantastic. So you definitely, check it out. Go on the FREIA website. If you haven't registered for it, get it registered. I think the last meeting we had was, I think it was about 120 people, whatever it was. I know they didn't even have enough chairs. I think they're going to hopefully have more chairs because it was just a jam-packed event over there. So definitely see about getting there. FFREIA.com. Check it out. There's also going to be the landlord meeting, which is going to be the 4th Thursday of the month. That is going to be at Ferrari's. That's also on the website. Carl Weeks, Pat Gallagher, and Beth Gallagher. Carl Weeks has managed over 6,000+ properties. Beth and Pat own Gallagher Property Management. They manage right now over 700 properties right now. Okay. Want to know about tenants and toilets? That's the place to be. Okay. We're also going to be doing the DealMasters group the third Thursday of the month. That is going to be also Ferraris on the website. You'll be able to check it out. Starts at 7. You want to get there, I don't know, anywhere between 6:30, 6:45. Definitely want to see about networking. You can go there, eat, and also we get to connect and learn from each other. We are going to be talking about commercial there also, but it's going to be in person. Okay. Andy, did I forget any events?
I think the only thing that you probably didn't know about is Jake and Kayla's baby came a couple days ago. So we have another REIA baby. Matt's came last week. They both popped early, like 2 or 3 weeks early for both of them. So I don't know if we're going to see them at the meeting next week or not. They weren't going to be there because their due dates were both like that week, and now the kids are here. So we may see Matt and we may see Jake. I don't know. We probably won't see Kayla.
Yeah.
But
somebody's going to MC it, so I would assume so.
well, Marty's going to do it. They already roped Marty into coming in to do the MCing and all that in the Q&A. So
perfect. All right, great. And Scott, any new people on it? Have never been on this before. Everybody's been on here.
I recognize all the names. I think we're probably safe.
Perfect. Is Scott even on yet or no?
No, he's probably in the shower.
All right, Joe, I've been sitting here listening to you talk for the last 20 minutes. Let's go.
Oh, there he is. He is here. All right.
The man, the myth, Scott.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How's your
All right.
voice sounds terrible.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I don't
Out
know. I picked
partying
up
too
some
late
sort of
last night.
allergy. I'm in Maine, and maybe I'm allergic to lobster. I don't know. Oh,
What?
lobster I've been eating has probably made me hoarse.
I don't know if that's how that works. Usually you swell up and can't move.
So, yeah, I'm on. Let's, sorry I'm a little bit late, but ready to get to business.
Yeah, we just basically we haven't even started yet, Scott. We just did announcements and stuff like that. Anything you want to add? Or no?
Nope. Business is good. Storage is doing well. Love traveling and miss you guys.
Well, we appreciate you getting on. At least you're on the East Coast.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. And so I don't know if you had anything you wanted to start out with, Scott, or anything like that when it comes to commercial here, because I didn't get a chance to really talk to you beforehand.
Yeah, residential real estate's great to start with. Commercial is a little bit different level. There's more commas in it usually. Takes a little bit more to raise the funds for it. And insurance tends to be a little bit tougher. You want to make sure you're getting the right insurance. We get quotes from insurance companies that are, like they'll give you 50% of replacement value. They don't cover wind and hail damage, those kind of things. So you really have to find a insurance person that you're confident in, that you can trust. Banks, I would say banks are a lot harder on commercial properties. There's more documents needed. There's more verifications needed. A lot of times a phase one, which is like an environmental study. They want to make sure there's no spills or contaminants there. But the rewards, in my opinion, are much higher in commercial properties. It's like a risk reward. It's good to learn to cut your teeth with residential real estate and then move up into commercial. I know some people go right into commercial real estate, and that's okay. We also have to understand some of those people have a real estate background from their parents or a good friend or something like that. So I'm completely commercial now. I used to have a bunch of residential rentals and flips and wholesales, but I switched over and completely commercial. I'm all in on self-storage, as most everybody on here knows. and it's going very well. I have gotten opportunities to go into other aspects of commercial, but I just I stay in my lane. There's still a lot of distractions in commercial. You know, you have commercial buildings, you have apartment complexes, you have self-storage, you have um, environmental properties that become, commercial properties, um, vacant buildings. I'm trying to think, if anybody else knows of any other commercial real estate. Go ahead and step up.
Strip plazas, all those things, medical buildings, office, everything. Yeah. So, and Scott, what I'd like to do real quick, I want to know if anybody here actually does commercial or owns commercial. Or is everybody here right now doing residential and looking to get into commercial? I'm wondering about that.
And don't forget the designation between commercial multifamily and commercial and regular multifamily, because commercial multifamily varies by state. As I have learned in the last 4 years, in New York State, if it's 5 or more doors or 6 or more doors, it's considered commercial multifamily. But if you go to like Tennessee or Texas, it's 10 or 12.
I thought it was 4.
Depends on the state.
Yeah, here, I thought here was 4.
Is it 4 or is it
Yeah,
5? Because I thought they drew the line in the HSTPA where if it was 5 or more doors, then it was subject to all these extra regulations and
they
crap.
charge me commercial rates.
Got it.
I don't know. Who knows?
It could be. I don't know. But anyway, it's different in every single state and they treat it all differently. So, but I don't do anything other than storage with Scott and Joe, so I can't really say anything.
Perfect. So who else? Who's doing? Actually, who's doing? Is anyone doing commercial here at all?
Do I count?
Well, yeah, you
You count. Go ahead, dude.
So yeah, I do self-storage as commercial, and that's in that sector. Self-storage buyers. So, it's like I was telling you a few minutes ago, Joe, it's there, like and Scott was saying, the stress is immense. But the reward, if I get this one deal today under contract, or closed.
Don't say if.
Let me back up a minute. Let me rephrase that. When I get this deal closed today, actually in 30 days, it'll be a payout that will be the rewards will be immense, and it'll be a load off my shoulders and then some. But it's funny, the motivation to keep it, like I told you, Joe, before, it's like crack. You get one deal, you need more. I feel like a crack addict, and it's just so much fun. I know I'm under stress and stuff like that, and I know it's like what do you call it? Like, it's stressful sometimes, and we have to get this done and get that done. But once you get it closed, and once you see the wire transfer coming to your account, it's like, oh, so that's what all that work I went for. That's cool. All right. So, it's an ongoing crack epidemic, if you will, to me.
All right. And who else besides Gabe? So are people?
Dan, are you guys involved? Dan, are you guys involved in any commercial real estate? I know you have your holding, which is your building, but maybe you can shed some light on that. Dan, do you rent out any of your space to anybody, or is it all just your business?
No, currently it's all just our business. We did rent out about 2,000 square feet up until a few years ago. And as our business grew, we needed to take that space back. It hurt a little because the rental income paid our property taxes. So, but I'd like to get more into some commercial. There's a couple properties that I've had my eyes on for quite a few years. There's one in the vicinity of where my office is that's really interesting to me.
Okay. Who else? Or is everyone just looking to get into it? Because I want to go over some few things to look into before you start looking at a commercial. That's why I'm asking. Anybody here just looking to get into commercial?
Hi, I'm Diane. Yep, I have a 4-family, which is not, it's not commercial right now. But I'm looking for 5 or more. So yeah, that would be commercial. Thanks.
So you're looking for residential?
Yeah.
Is anyone else here looking outside of residential? Also, anyone looking to do any office, any medical, storage, anything like that?
I had mentioned in the past that I'd also be interested in strip plazas. Anything from, 2 to 8 units, that would be of interest to me.
Okay. So, Scott, if you don't mind, can because I want to go over a couple of things people need to look at before they look, just some of the things that I've seen that you have to be careful of as far as for new people looking at strip plazas. And
Hold on, Joe, 1 second. I'm going to task somebody who's kind of sitting silently that I think owns a commercial property or two.
okay.
Shane. If he's paying, hey Shane, do you own any commercial properties?
Few.
You're looking at it. What's that?
Few.
A few. That's what I thought. That's the thing about you finally changed your name. I wasn't sure what Shane was on here, but I was hoping it was you. Would you be willing to talk about your experience in commercial and all that? You have a ton of knowledge to share. I'd like to hear from you if you're willing to share. If not, we'll just let Joe babble for a while.
Sure. So we own basically, I think, every asset class in regards to commercial. So I have a 34 unit complex. I own mobile home parks, self-storage, standalone commercial, mixed use commercial, 6-7 unit buildings with retail on the bottom. I mean, the parks are what we've been focusing on the last 3 years now. So we have 19 of them throughout New York State. Never really ventured out of New York State. Like a lot of you guys are now doing, I guess. We probably should be. We're stupidly staying in New York State, but yeah, I mean, it's like any business, right? Like, I mean, it's, if you take a single family home and you're just multiplying it by 100 at certain points, and just dealing with certain things. The parks we found to be a little bit easier from a maintenance standpoint, but your tenants the parks we're buying are, heavy value adds. So there tend to be a little bit more. We're going through evictions. I think last time we did a count, we've begun 97 evictions since January, on some parks we've taken over. So, it's just going through the rigmarole of getting people out. So, but yeah, I mean, it's commercials there. Still love single family homes though. So if anybody has single family homes they want to sell, always available.
And
Shane, what do you find is the best as far as for value adds in all your asset classes?
For the best value add,
Yeah.
so being that we just started buying parks about 3 years ago, we haven't really done a complete turn on those yet because they're more like 3 to 5 year plays. But my single family homes have always, they're always my best ones, but we were buying 10, 15 at a time, taking them back commercial mortgages. And it was also when you're buying a single family home in the suburbs for 60 grand, right? It wasn't like you're buying for 150 now where the rents don't make sense. But yeah, but from a commercial standpoint, the parks are probably the best right now. But yeah.
Now, do you have strip plazas also?
We don't have strip plazas. Self-storage, we're very small, and I have 2 facilities. One I built from the ground up. So I did well on my actual the cost to build it versus what it refinanced at. My issue with that one is it's in a small town and I'm having issues filling it. So kind of overestimated my my time on that, but it's all right.
with the 97 evictions that you had to do, they were all mobile homes. How many mobile home, I guess, pads or whatever lots do you have? Do you currently
So
manage?
we have 800. The thing is, we took over, we bought 8 parks in Q4 of 2022. So we bought all the previous debt so we could begin evictions immediately. So we bought all the previous debt on all those parks, and I think between the 8 of them, they had almost 200 grand that was owed to them. So we basically been going through trying to get people out. And now we're finally starting to see them come. I mean, I probably have 2 lockouts a week going right now, in various areas of the state. So, but it's interesting.
And how long have you been doing real estate, Shane?
2013. So we
Okay.
started singles, doubles, triples. I hit 100 units in 2016. And then since then, we're about 1,100 right now.
Is that 1,100 units with commercial and residential, or just the residential?
Everything. Yeah. There's 1,100 units spread over 130 properties roughly. So we still kept our singles and doubles and stuff like that.
How do you find the financing versus the residential? And are you guys going to the bank, or are you guys self-financing it? Or are you doing hard money for the value place and then raising the value and then going to get it refinanced out?
So some we go strictly to the bank, some we have seller financing that are holding seconds, some we bring hard money in on the other side of it. We've never done syndications, outside investors, anything like that. And then some we just fund with, we did a 1031 last year. So we funded one of our properties in Utica that way. So, I mean, and then it's, our money too, that's going into all these properties. Once you have that base portfolio, all the cash flow of that is just feeding into, doing these developments and all these other things. So it's sucks from a personal standpoint, because you're like, oh, this money is going in here, and you just got to see the light at the end of the tunnel of like, okay, well, here this is. But it's fun sometimes. Sometimes you pull your hair out.
What's an average you look for a rate of return in regards to percentage and time, in regards to looking for 5 years, 7 year, 10-year return? What are you looking to get?
So we've always done price per door, never done rate of returns, anything like that. We're looking at it cash flowing X dollars per door per month. I'm sure there's a rate of return in there, just never done the math on it. And that's what we roll with. We're not looking at like going and selling off in 5 years. Like that's never been our play or our plan. We've always looked at holding our properties until whenever. Like hopefully my kids want to take over. I pray to God they want to do something else. But so we've always looked at like a price per door type thing. And it wasn't crazy, right? I mean, back in the day, I think our single family homes, we were looking at making like $150 or $200 a door. Some hit, some don't, but the equity play is where it's fun on those. My daughter's talking. And then like parks, I mean, you're looking, $50 to $75 a door, or a pad, I guess you could say.
Okay.
Well, thanks for sharing, Shane. I appreciate you stepping up. I know I felt you had a lot of commercial property and to own in all those different asset classes. That's great. Do you by chance own any laundromats?
No, I tried buying them, but couldn't make the deal come together. And then,
Okay. All right, cool. All right, good. Thanks, Shane. Appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Joe, if you got other stuff to add to this, I would say.
Yeah. So one of the things that, what I've seen, cause look, I'm obviously getting into commercial right now. We're actually finally, oh my God, it's like pulling teeth trying to get an apartment complex closed. But, one of the things for me, and I know Shane touched upon it, is the value add. And because, we don't like paying retail, and we want to be able to, look at a property and see if it's going to need any work. Some people want to get turnkey. They just want to get the mailbox money. They have everything in place. And they're happy with it. Some people want, they may want to make an 8% return on their money per year, 10%, whatever the heck it is there. I know, like for me, we like the value place. We want to be able to go in and, like, the place that we're doing right now, we know the rents are low. The management isn't really in place. We know expenses are way higher than they should be. So we know we can bring the rents up, the expenses down. We're buying it at a fantastic price. And then we know what it'll be worth on the back end. Okay. I mean, for us, that was the easiest way to get involved in the, especially with apartment complex. And we were also able to get owner financed on that property. So we brought in a hard money lender to help us out to be able to close a deal. Yes, we're going to be paying, when you're dealing with commercial properties, you're dealing with, more zeros and commas. At the same time, we know it's going to be worth it on the back end. So a lot of times when I talk to people, I ask them, I go, first of all, is there room for growth? And one of the major things, and we've looked at a bunch of stuff. I'm sure Scott's gone through this. A bunch of us, I'm sure Shane has. All of us have. We looked at a property actually in Monroe Avenue not too long ago, and the guy was selling it for 4 times what the tax assessment was. So we knew, his numbers were working the way his, at his current tax assessment. He owned it for a long time. We knew that once we purchased it, our numbers would throw us way off. We were so far apart on the numbers. That's one of the things you really got to take a look at, is the expenses. Is it self-managed? And then some of these people, what I realized was that, I was looking at a property and I saw the expenses, you had nothing for maintenance. If you're looking at a 5 or a 10 unit or 20 or whatever the heck it is, or a 50 or 100 unit, and you've got, barely any maintenance going on, something's breaking all the time, and then, okay, lawn mowing, snow plowing, and Scott Spear taught me something, especially when it comes to storage. Buying storage up in the north, your snowplow bill could be $500 one season and $5,000 the next season, depending on how much snow you get. And Scott, I don't know if you have anything to add on to that, or.
One thing, it's kind of that risk reward type thing. We do have some, I'm going to say self-storage, but let's say just commercial properties. We do have some commercial properties that we'll go into, and we know on a monthly basis we're going to lose money. And we have one right now that I know for a year that we're just going to lose money because we borrowed private money, so the interest rate was higher, and it's an underperforming asset. People are like, why the heck would you do that? Well, the reason we're doing that is because we know that in 2 years, it's going to be worth $300,000 more than we paid for it. That's when we look at our payday. I know a lot of people look at cash flow. Cash flow is very important, but you also have to be able to take your cash flow goggles off once in a while and just say, okay, let's look at this thing long term. Yeah, it sucks when you own a property and you're losing money every month, but you know that long term it's going to pay off. Like I said, I know at the end of 2 years it's going to be worth $300,000 more than we paid for it, and that's being conservative. So worst case is it'll be worth $100,000 more than we paid for it. So any monthly loss that we had, that $100,000 more than makes up for it. So that's one thing with commercial. You got to have a little bit deeper pockets in some cases. Or bigger backers. If you do go into commercial, I would say just go in, maybe start a little small, learn to cut your teeth on that. It's That's what I would say. With commercial, it's a good idea to have a little bit deeper pockets so you can withstand the storms that you're going to experience. I look at big buildings, like I know people that invest in Valvoline oil changes, people that invest in like the Walgreens, things like that. That's great, but in my opinion, it would be scary as all get out if that tenant all of a sudden left. Then you're left with this big building. What do you do with it then? So, but there are people that specialize in that. They know it, and I just don't know it, and maybe I'm missing something, but that's okay. That's okay. I'm
You're
doing
not
well in the
missing
asset class I stick in.
You're not missing anything. Most of the triple net lease space is not about making crazy cash flow and making a ton of money. It's preservation of capital. So it's a totally different calculation. It's completely opposite of storage. It's completely opposite of multifamily. It doesn't work in any way, even remotely similar to those. And I just learned this a couple of weeks ago because I had a friend come on who is a triple net lease broker across the US, and he has relationships with these huge players, all the fast food places and the Kohl's and the Wendy's and the whatever. So if you want to learn about the triple net side of the business, I have a 45-minute long podcast with him that came out a couple of weeks ago. So his name is Dan Lukowitz, and you can just study it to your heart's content because he shares all the secrets of how to increase your cap or increase your money, make the property worth more. And it's all about the lease and the tenants. That's the value of the property is driven completely by what's in there. It's a totally different animal.
Yeah. And on some of those too, Andy, triple net, for those who don't know, you're basically the tenant pays for everything, your taxes, insurance, maintenance, all you do is collect a check. And what I've seen happen too, and I've talked to other people in the past, is let's just say someone has what's called the anchor store, whether it's I don't care, whatever, if it's a Family Dollar, Walgreens, whatever. One of the things that sometimes what some of these owners will do, they find out that depending on how the market's going there, maybe that anchor store is not going to be renewing their lease. What they'll do is they'll try to sell it a year, maybe a year before the lease ends. And then the person who's buying is thinking, oh, wow, I'm getting this strip plaza with this great anchor store, not knowing, and they're paying top dollar, not knowing that they're going to be leaving. So you have to go, and that happens all the time.
Yep. We actually talk about that on the show and how he had one guy who made a $400,000 mistake by not reading the lease before, like during due diligence, didn't look at the lease agreements or anything, didn't realize how long it was in there for, like craziness. And then there was another example he threw out there where somebody was ready to sell. There was a year left on the lease and they took a $65,000 cut in revenue where the rent went from X and went down, but they extended the lease out to 10 years and he added $400,000 to the value of the building by taking a pay cut every month. Just, it's nuts.
Yeah, you really have to do your due diligence, talk to tenants, talk to people, and we're not trying to scare people away. It's just your due diligence is, you'd be shocked. Fake leases, all kinds of stuff. You really have to go there, talk to, if you're dealing with apartment complexes, get the attorneys will handle all this, these estoppel certificates. But whenever I've looked at commercial properties, we always want to at least talk to the tenants, you can't talk to everybody at the apartment complex, but when it comes to the commercial side, really got to take a look, read, and have yourself. Don't be cheap. Feel like, well, I'm going to read it myself. No, send it to your attorney. Have them also go over it too, because a few $100s will save you tens of thousands of dollars.
Hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hundreds of thousands.
By the way, anybody have any questions on this? So feel free to add stuff on here. Everybody's good.
I do see a new addition onto the Zoom call, Barrington Nelson. One of my good friends, and we partnered in a couple deals together. And Barrington, we're talking about commercial. We switched it up the way we're doing it a little bit. We're talking about just commercial properties. And you know what designates commercial in Rochester? Do you have you in the past or currently own any commercial properties? And would you mind sharing some of your experiences with that and how it differs from residential real estate?
Yeah, so I don't own any commercial and I never have owned any commercial, but that's what I'm transitioning into now. So I'm at the very beginning. I'm listening to a lot of podcasts every day and night and stuff, and reading some books. So the same learning process I went through with residential, I'm now doing with commercial. So I don't really have any input. I'm at the very beginning stages of. I'm excited. I'm happy. I'm looking forward to it. Yep.
Well, thanks, man.
Scott, are you
Appreciate it.
finding it's easier to get finance for commercial than it is for residential?
I'm gonna say no.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I would say. It's, in my opinion, residential is just easy. Local banks know it, credit unions know it, mom and pop banks know it, the nationals know it. Commercial, there's only lenders that only lend on self-storage. There's lenders that only lend on apartment complexes. So you're kind of shrinking your pool of companies to go to. Once you find somebody, it's great. But yeah, it is a little bit bigger of a chore. I know CMB, Canandaigua National Bank, they're a player in the commercial business. I know a lot of people in Rochester that use them. I think they're very good, very knowledgeable. As Joe had mentioned, if you're going into commercial, have somebody review that lease. Steve Federson, I think everybody knows Steve. He does commercial properties. He's handled some very big transactions, and he has saved a lot of people a lot of money just in reviewing the current leases and things like that. So, when you're playing with bigger dollars, it's always better to get more verification. Like Andy had said, a $400,000 mistake, that's huge. In residential real estate in Rochester, you may have a $50,000 mistake. A little bit easier to recover from something like that. So
Now,
it seems to be a natural transition for a lot of people, progression where they go from residential and then go into commercial. So there are people that do that. There are people that stay in residential, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that because to me, residential is simple. In Rochester, you can make a ton of money at it. So that's what I think.
now that's just through the banks. And now the great thing about commercial is that you're able to get some really good creative financing. There's a few different things you can do. I know on to help us, first of all, we actually had the owner take a second position, which we did that in a very creative way, which, there's many different things you can do. One of the things that we're doing is also to keep our expenses low. We're going to be buying the LLC, but but to protect us, we're going to form a brand new LLC. It's going to take over that current LLC. That way, there's no liabilities or anything that happened in the past. Okay, and because especially dealing with the hard money lenders, it's a heck of a lot easier than dealing with a bank. We were going to go to a bank to get the financing, and they wanted like it was like that thick of an application. It was just insane. So we ended up talking to one of our lenders, and it was literally just a conversation. And he goes, "We can make it work this way." Where he came in, he gave us a good portion of the money down. He said, "We're in." There wasn't any application. There was nothing. He was local. He knew the market. He knows the place. And then we were able to show him the numbers in regards to where it is now to where it's going to be. And I don't know who was more excited about it, him or us, about the deal, because he was just like, "Oh my God." and then be able to have the owner take a second position. Also, was as far as for being able to hold the mortgage. And then what we're going to do is actually go in there and be able to obviously increase the value of it. And we already have, like Scott mentioned, we already have CNB Bank who wants to do business with us. They go, listen, we want to take this one down with you. And the funny thing about it is that CNB Bank, which we originally approached, who wanted, you know, an unbelievable amount of information, you know, in order to finance it right from the get-go. Our lender works with CNB Bank. As crazy as this sounds, he's going to get the money from CNB Bank. He's going to loan it to us and then assign them the mortgage, which is crazy. Same people who wanted all this paperwork is going to circumvent that. And then afterwards, we're going to refinance with them at a much lower interest rate. We figure like 6 months down the road. And did I confuse anybody with that?
Yeah, Gabe has, I'm sorry, Barrington has a question.
Yeah, I just have two questions. So with the loan from the private or hard money lender that you're referring to, Joe, at what interest rate was that? Was it a typical interest rate that we usually get for residential properties, or was it?
It was 12%. We're paying 12.
Okay, 12%. Okay, but the deal still work, obviously.
100%. Now he's charging more than that, but
Yeah.
this was a big.
Oh, okay.
Big
Okay,
amount.
so he normally charges more than that, but being that this is a big amount, it's a commercial deal, he lowered it to 12 for you, correct?
Yeah. Because right now interest rates have gone up, Barrington. That's why.
Yeah. Okay, I get that. And Andy, when the question was asked, is it difficult to get loans from the bank for commercial? What are your thoughts on that?
It depends on the type of commercial. So residential commercial, right? Commercial multifamily has gotten really difficult for a lot of investors because the due diligence is higher. The expectations for performance are a lot higher. They're not after the bank collapses, they started dialing it back, but in the last 2 months, we've seen a huge increase in the amount of due diligence that they're doing. So they're not taking pro formas at face value anymore, showing rent increases month over month or year over year, I mean, or anything like that. So it's a different level. So like the property I just finished working on over in Webster, I'm actually done now. They had refied it in April at double what they paid for it, right? In basically 14 months, which is awesome. They were supposed to, and that was at 82% occupancy. They were supposed to have another one this month, right now in September. And the bank basically said, yeah, we're not doing that, but you still have to make it to 95%. So they've changed the game and they're changing it midstream for deals that were already worked out. They're basically like, we're not going to do another refi. You're done. So that side of it has gotten more difficult. In the interview I did with Dan, he said that for triple net, the people who lend on that regularly, who are familiar with how that system works, money's way easier and way looser than anything residential. He basically said that he has no issues. He's got a network of guys who will write a note tomorrow. All he needs is a phone call and he'll connect whoever wants to know about it to it, and he'll get the money.
Right. But the thing with triple net is that it's not as profitable. It's just a good place to.
It's just the cash flow. It's to park your money. It's the only way you can, at least based off the interview I did, the primary way to make money off of triple net is to get something like a shopping center, increase occupancy, increase rents, get those leases signed, and that's how you increase value. If you're looking to do a value add play on triple net, it's basically about getting in, fixing up a property, getting a long-term lease signed, and selling it again. And that's how you would make your money, is basically by doing a flip.
Okay, by doing a flip. Okay. I get that. All right, cool. Because I've always heard in the past that it was easier to get commercial loans than residential, or about the same amount of time and energy and effort, but obviously the payout and everything is just much more.
Yeah. Yeah. So small residential works very differently because you can get
Yeah.
some DSCR loans and you can
Yeah.
play some games with stuff. And even
Mhm.
those have tightened up. They
Mhm.
talked a little bit about it at the private lending panel the creative finance panel that they did with Quickline, where Daquan came in and talked.
Mhm.
Where they'll do DSCRs or they'll do, other types of assets collateralized into the note so you can fund whatever it is you're looking for. But they're not a bank, right? They're a private lender, so
Yeah.
they can play some games that other people aren't willing to play.
Mhm. 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 So you would recommend going with a private or hard money lender when we're approaching commercial? Then
It depends on what it is. There's plenty of banks who do it. All the big banks play in that world. So like the
Yeah.
Citibank, Chase, JP, the JP
Yeah.
Morgans, all those guys play in that world. It's just knowing who the loan officers are to work with to get the deal. So, part of what Dan went into on the podcast is he literally just gave his phone number away at the end of the interview. And he was
Yeah.
like, if you just want to talk to me about a deal and go
Yeah.
through the details and have me look at
Yeah.
it, I'll be happy
Yeah.
to give it a look, and I'll connect anybody who wants to be connected with, somebody on the private finance side or the public side who writes notes for these assets. Just call me. I have a ton of people ready to lend.
Okay.
All right. But he's writing deals across the country. Like he's busy. He's closing stuff. He hasn't seen a slowdown like everybody else has, but he hates multifamily with a passion. Doesn't want to get involved in it. Thinks it's garbage right now.
Mhm.
And he's happy making his money off of commercial deals. So,
Okay. So what does he love? And sorry, I missed the majority of the meeting. So I'm not where everyone else is at. But what does he love commercial wise? He doesn't like
he
multi.
mentioned medical office. He mentioned strip malls. He mentioned the usual players, so like fast service restaurants, so like the McDonald's and the Wendy's and the chain, like Applebee's and whatever. He likes those, PetSmarts and stuff like that. He didn't really get it. He doesn't like regular office right now. He doesn't like multifamily at all. He just doesn't want to deal with it. And he used to be a house flipper, so he started flipping houses. That was where he got his start in the business, and he became a commercial broker and just gave up on the flipping side completely.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna listen to it today. Thank you.
Yeah, man, you got it.
And I don't know if Andy or Shane or Scott, whoever answers. So one of the things that's going on is obviously people bought property, especially commercial stuff, 3, 4, 5 years ago at very, very low interest rates. And one of the things with commercial properties is, even though you may have a 30-year amortization on your mortgage, your loan will be reviewed in 3, 4, 5 years. So now what's happening and what's going to keep happening is that which, these people's interest rates are going to go from 4 to 8, 9%, and they won't be able to cover their mortgage anymore. And some of these people are like, you know what? I just want to get rid of this thing. And I mean, Andy, have you been seeing that at all? Because I mean, so it's opportunity for us to be able to go in there and buy these properties because they just want to get rid of it, just get it off their books.
It's starting. There's been a lot of static about what's coming next year in 2024. There's like 1.3 or 1.6 trillion dollars worth of commercial loans that are coming due for that review cycle, which sounds like a lot, but I'm not sure how that actually compares to every other year. Yes, there was a spike during COVID and whatever because interest rates were low and free money and whatever, but not entirely sure if that's a misnomer, other than the fact that the dollar amount is higher because every asset value was inflated at the time. So I don't know if that's like weird, but there's a lot of static out there. Most commercial brokers, Dan is not one of them, but most commercial brokers are like survive till 25 is what they're saying right now, because their transaction volumes are down like 30 to 40% already for 2023. And they're assuming that it's going to be even worse next year as those notes get called in. So they're not seeing the collapse. They're not anticipating that on that side of it yet. So I think probably because of just how foreclosure works, they're probably right. You're probably even if the foreclosures do start at the end of this year and into next year, you're probably not actually going to see any action until 2025. So.
Oh. I mean, I don't know if Scott or Shane have
Yeah,
purchased stuff like
I'll
that.
say something quick. One good thing about commercial property is you tend to be dealing with more of a sophisticated seller. I shouldn't say sophisticated, but just more of a business type seller. Sometime when you're buying residential, you're dealing with a homeowner or a landlord that owns 1 or 2 properties. When you're buying a commercial property, those people are in business. They treat it like a business. They know it's business. They tend to be more flexible on providing seller financing also. They get it. They know they're going to get a big tax hit. Joe, yesterday I listened to the conversation he has, and if he's willing to share that, it's an awesome conversation about how to talk about seller financing to anybody, whether it's residential or commercial. But now that we're asking, like Andy said, interest rates went from like 3.25% to 10.5% in the last year and a half in commercial. That's a big number. I had people call me back on self-storage from 2 years ago. They're like, hey, I'm ready to sell my self-storage facility. I'm willing to do the $1 million that you're willing to do. That sounds great. We'll go forward. I'm like, I appreciate the phone call. Trust me, I really do. But now your facility's worth 700, and they get upset because they're like, how is it worth 700? I still have the same occupancy, my rents are up and all that. I'm like, yeah, but interest rates went from 3.5% up to 10.5% on commercial properties. There are some that do loans for less, but SBA right now, SBA loans on commercial properties are 10%. That's when you can have that conversation about providing seller financing. Like I said, you're dealing with a business person. They know what monthly income looks like. They don't want to take the big hit on taxes. That is the one good thing about commercial. So that I will say that I enjoy.
So and actually to add on what Scott was talking about, yeah, we were having that conversation because I had a call yesterday with a guy with an RV park. And by the way, the apartment complex that we're buying, the guy wanted to hold a mortgage because of capital gains. He did not want to get that huge bill. Okay. And so instead of me, I was having a conversation with a guy yesterday. He had it's an RV place down in Florida, and it's only 2 years old. But obviously he was buying it. He told me he was buying it to basically be able to take care of it through his retirement. And he increased the value of it substantially. So instead of me asking people, hey, listen, are you willing to hold a mortgage? Are you willing to hold paper? And in their minds, the first thing that comes to their mind is, first of all, and by the way,
Joe, 1 second.
Yeah.
I want everybody to be paying attention to this part. What Joe's about to say, it just really blew me away. It's a whole different way to talk about seller financing. So if you're distracted right now, like I get distracted, I'll admit, right now is probably going to be the most important thing you're going to hear in this whole hour and a half meeting. So listen up. This is really powerful.
All right. Now you're putting me under a lot of pressure.
Just say what you said yesterday, dude.
All
Just
right.
close your eyes and relax.
All right. So basically, and you gotta understand, like especially like when Gabe or any one of us are talking to people over the phone, they don't know us. Okay. They buy us first and what we have to offer second. So instead of me asking them, hey, listen, are you willing to hold paper? In their minds, automatically, is this person trustworthy? Oh my God. Some people are like, what does that mean? How does that work? All this other stuff. I simply asked them one question. I said, listen, and he wanted $675,000. And I asked him, I go, listen, if we were to come in there, we were to pay cash, are you going to be okay with paying all that capital gains to the government? And the first thing out of his mouth was, no, I don't want to pay them nothing. And he goes, well, listen, sometimes, and I talk about Scott. Scott's like partner of what, 18, 19 facilities. I said, well, listen, some of the places that Scott has found, some of these people have owned these places for like 20, 30 years. And they bought these places for their retirement. And then when they want to finally sell it, the government's taking all their profits. So what Scott has had to do for the sellers, and I put on there, what he's had to do for the sellers, or what the sellers have actually requested, is that they get paid over a 2, 3, 4, or 5-year period. And I automatically put that in his head. And the guy goes, you know what? Yeah, I'd be willing to do that. I don't want to pay the government all my hard-earned money, you know? And then what I also added on to it was that, you know, a lot of these people, some of these people are in a position where they can't sell because even though, you know, age-wise, they can't really run the facility, they can't afford to sell it because they count on that money. And if they sell it, the government is going to take their profit. Okay. Questions on that with anybody?
Yeah, Joe, I do actually have one question talking about owner financing. You know, I was talking to a guy in Connecticut the other day, or yesterday actually, about it. What do you do in a situation to where, you know, talking about owner financing, to where, like this guy I'm talking to is 84 years old, and you know, he wants to sell, but you know, he's in his age, you know, he wants to owner finance, but he only wants to owner finance for like 4 years, you know. And but what do you do in situations to where you get a guy that's aging and he wants to sell? How can you begin that conversation of owner financing to where, well, let's face it, if the guy's in his 80s, I don't want to go any further. What's going to happen pretty soon to the poor guy, but you know what I mean. But how do you have that conversation to where you want to talk about owner financing? The guy's bitching about, you know, capital gains, and the guy's up in age, you know, how do you put that in the mix to where, well, let's get this, you know what I mean? So I wonder how that would play out.
I've had that issue come up on the residential side for me. And I find out, I go, first of all, do they have kids? And you know, for us, I don't know about Scott, but like for me, I tell people, I mean, you know, unless you're looking to get this thing financed for 10, 20 years, you know, it's a whole different issue. But yes, most people in their 80s, I say, listen, God forbid anything happens to you, because obviously you built this for your family. No matter what, you bought this for your kids. God forbid anything happens to you, everything's going to get transferred to your children anyways. So that's already been taken care of, without the government coming in and stealing all that money that you worked so hard to leave for your family, whether it be your wife, your kids, grandchildren, whatever it is. Okay, I've done that. I try to keep it as simple as possible. I don't want to say, listen, if you die, you know, I just want, God forbid if something happens to you, you know, and I'd say, look, hopefully you'll be around for another 25 years. Because if you can do storage for this long, you're good for another 25 years without the stress, you know. And I kind of keep it very light. Okay, but some people don't mind doing that because they do it for their kids, you know. And there's not a set script to do that with, you know. You got to feel the guy out, Gabe, and you're great at doing that. You're great at communicating and talking with people. It's just finding out, you know, why do they do this? You know, they do this for their retirement, for the kids, their wife, and whatever. I mean, I don't know, Scott, have you had that happen, or how do you handle that?
Same thing. You know, I tell them, you know, it becomes part of your estate. You know, everything will transfer. You know, I'll just start making payments to the estate. Some of them want, you know, they'll do seller financing, but they want like $200,000 down. What you have to do is you have to find out, what do they want the $200,000 for? You know, some may want to buy an AV. Some, I'm sorry about this. Some may want to buy an RV, some may want it to buy a vacation home or take a big trip or something like that. Then what you can do with that information is that becomes their dream. So when you start talking to them about the price and all that, when you start getting into the details of everything, you can say, I do remember you said you wanted to buy you wanted to take your family on a trip, to Greece. You have to sometimes remind them of that. That keeps them incentivized to sell it. Oh, that's right. That's why I'm selling this thing. Some of them, they just want all the money. And then you have to find out, what are they going to do with that money? Some are just going to put it in the bank. And then you say, well, okay, you're going to put it in the bank. The bank's going to pay you 0.5% interest per year. I'm willing to pay you 4%, X amount of whatever the bank is paying you. Oh, they get it. They understand that. And you're still secured by the property and all that. So that's how I have those conversations with people. I hope that helps.
And to add on to that too, what I've done is we did a we did a 19 unit, and we had to borrow the money for it. And I also have this conversation also with the sellers if they're doing owner financing. I say, listen, just so that way our goal is to put money into that immediately. So if they want like $100,000 or $200,000 down, and I try to get them down and say, look, even though in your mind we're only putting down $100,000, we're going to be putting in, like when it comes to the storage, we're going to be putting in a fence. We're going to be doing this. When it comes to residential part, which is the exact same conversation I had with the guy from the apartment complex, I go, look, we're going to go through every single unit, all of them. We're going to average close to $10,000 a unit. You can do the math. So that $100,000 to you is actually $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 to us. And here's what I can promise you, Mr. or Mrs. Seller or person holding the mortgage. Secretly, you're going to want me to stop paying you. Like, what? I go, yeah, because we're going to increase the value of it so much. I promise you, secretly, you're going to want me to stop paying you. But I can tell you one thing, we're not going to. Never have, won't happen, as 100% non-negotiable. Okay. So I kind of, so at least that way because all they're thinking about is that $100,000. But they don't see on the other end of it is actually the amount of money you're going to be putting back into it and increasing the value of it right out of the gate. Okay. And by the way, any questions on this?
I have a question, Joe. Let's say like on that 675,000, and you're saying you're going to give capital gains to the government. If it's over 5 years where, you're going to pay them, do they ever ask like, what are they going to save? Like, because eventually when it's sold and finished in 5 years, won't they pay the gain then?
Well, you're also offering them interest too. So they're getting a little bit above and beyond. It just doesn't hurt as much.
I see. So they get it. It's over. So every year that they get, they pay capital gains on that at that point, but they're getting interest to offset it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Feels better,
Okay.
And one more thing you can also do too, which is I didn't know about this till this year. You've got a person that you're asking to hold their mortgage and they're a little iffy on, okay? What you can do is you got to do this to the attorney, and I don't remember what it's called. So basically, you form the LLC of the commercial property you're buying, okay? And what you're doing is you're giving a share of that LLC to the seller of the property. And on there, what it basically, and it's, and it's in the contract, it's in the mortgage, all the attorneys handle all that. And what you can say is this, because a lot of times you're like, well, listen, what happens if I hold a mortgage? It's going to take me, 2, 3, 4, 5 years to get the money back. Or in the meanwhile, you're stealing all the money and, letting the place go. And I got to spend 10, 15, 20, 30, $40,000, $100,000 getting the property back. Well, what's fantastic about that little clause, and I had this conversation, I said, here's the situation. This is going to hold our feet, not only our feet to the fire, but our whole entire body. So instead of you having to go to the foreclosure process, if we stop paying you at 12 o'clock, you take this piece of paper, okay? You go to the county clerk's office, you file that, and at 12:01, you own the property back again.
Hmm.
And he was like, what? We go, yeah, I didn't know about this. And the guy was like, I'm in. Now, some people don't like doing that because, okay, obviously you have to be able to work with the seller and, make sure it's not somebody who's just begging for you to fail and making things hard for you. So you got to have some type of, both of you have to be mutually, respectful of each other, and also somewhat of, knowing that both of you two want to win, not just one wants you to lose and get the property back.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah. Do we have questions on that?
Yeah, Joe, is that like that thing that you mentioned about the piece of paper you can take to the county office? Is that the like when you and I were having conversations about owner financing throughout the year and such? Is that kind of similar, or is the insurance policy that we place at the attorney's place, to take back the property and stuff like that? Remember how we were having a conversation about that? Is that?
I don't think that's the same thing. I don't remember the conversation. But no, this is like, I just learned about this, probably like about 5 months ago, maybe.
Oh.
And which I was like, wow. So, I don't mind doing it on that big of a property because we know what the property's worth right now. We're buying it right now at, technically we could sell it for 25% higher right off the bat. And we know when we're done with it, we know we're gonna, it'll be worth 1.5 to almost 2 times of what we're buying it for. And when you're talking 7 figures, the deal has to be worth it, bottom line. Okay, but it gave him a little bit of ease because the seller in this case had to take second position instead of first position. Our lender took first. That was the only way to do it. I'm like, and I told my lender, I go, listen, he's not going to take second position. No attorney's going to say, hey, listen, take second position. But when he said that, I was like, how come I've never heard of this before? And his attorney that he deals with does it all the time. His attorney says, yeah, this is no problem. Never knew this. Never even heard of this. So now it's just something that keep in our back pocket for anything else we find, because we are looking for other stuff. And we'd love to be able to do some type of owner financing. If we need to bring in somebody else to put in first position, at least that seller will be protected. Questions?
And when Joe asks for questions, it could be about any aspect of real estate. Yeah, today's focus is a little bit on commercial, but I know people have other questions they want to ask about real estate, and feel free to throw those out right now. If it's commercial related, great. But if it's anything, if it's about rentals, we'll talk about it for a little bit. There's a whole nother group that does all the rental stuff. But does anybody have any questions or anything they want to bring up, a deal they want to talk about, anything like that?
I just have a quick question for you, Scott. Would you ever get back into residential? Are you completely out of residential? Do you love commercial?
When you and I were hustling doing residential, about how many hours were you working a week? When you were really into it, how many hours were you working a week?
A lot.
A lot.
Yeah.
I work about 20 hours a week now in real estate. I don't do any hands-on. I don't touch any properties.
Wow.
I don't know how this worked, but through some coaching that I hired, and trust me, I was reluctant to hire coaches. I'm like, why do I need a coach? What do I need to pay them for? I know what I'm doing. Somehow I work less hours and I make a lot more money than I used to when I was working like you and I, 70, 80 hours a week.
Yeah.
Trust me, you have to in the beginning. You have to work a job, you have to support your family, you have to pay the bills, all that. So you have to work that 40-hour job or 50-hour job for the man. But you should be doing something on the side for yourself. I mean, Joe, how many times have we talked? You work for the man, you start at 7 in the morning, you go till 5 in the afternoon, then you're starting your business. Everybody else is going home for happy hour. You start building your business and you're working from 5 until midnight, and you're just doing it all over again, over and over and over again. We did that to get to the point that we're at. But you know, you just have to hustle, you have to work. People are like, how much you making per hour in real estate? I'm like, I don't know. I don't keep track of that because I'm looking more long term. You know, the people who asked how much I was making per hour, they're in that hour mindset mentality.
Right.
But yeah, the only way I would go back to residential was if I found a really good deal and somebody else was going to property manage it for me. That's the only way I go back to residential. I have people ask me all the time, you're a full-time RVer, why don't you invest in RV parks? There's money to be made in that, but then once again, you're dealing with all the personalities. You're dealing with sewer problems. You're dealing with, you know, just things. Whereas in self-storage that I do, I don't deal with tenants. I don't deal with toilets. I don't deal with nothing's an emergency. I mean, you have to place burns down. That's an emergency, but like, I don't get the call in the middle of the night. Hey, my furnace went out.
Yeah.
You know, so, to say all that, no, I probably would not go back to residential.
Okay, thank you. Joe, are you gonna stay in both residential and commercial? You plan on transitioning full time to commercial, or what are your thoughts?
I wanna get into the, like, with the apartment. For me, I don't wanna be a manager or anything like that. So we've got somebody we're bringing in with us that's gonna manage it. I want to be able to be hands off because I want to focus on being an investor. I may possibly look, just like Scott said, it has to be a fantastic deal. I'm definitely, through Scott's help and mentoring, getting into more commercial stuff. If opportunities comes our way and we find a strip plaza, things like that, may do that. You know, I'm not, and obviously, again, you got tenants and toilets, but it has to work. And I want to be able to do it. So I'm basically hands off. Scott's in a position where he gets to travel and, you know, he's a facilitator and a half. He's the gatherer, not the hunter. So for him, you know, he's just figure out which deal is going to work best for him. For me, it may change in another year. I don't know. You know, right now we're just on. Right now and Scott will tell you, I am like on a mission for commercial, like nobody's business. Still doing the residential, but I'll tell you what. Scott said something really great. He goes, Joe, look at this one deal that we're doing right now and how much easier it is versus trying to do 10, because the one deal is going to make up for 10 properties, and then the stress and everything else, you know. And the funny thing about it is that, like, before the call started, Gabe and I, we were talking about some of the craziness. So you know, we just did a house where, you know, we made a really good assignment fee, well over 10,000+ on it. But, you know, the lady was calling me like crazy. We finally closed, and all of a sudden she's just like, well, I'm not completely moved out yet. Then we're finally about to get it closed. We had to go there to do the walkthrough. We had to help her bring her stuff out. Then that night, I get another phone call after change the locks. So we sold it to the guy. She goes, oh, hey, by the way, my son forgot a seafood dinner in the stove. It's going to stink up the whole house. So I had to call the buyer, let him know. Then last night, 11:30, goes, hey, my son forgot the cable box in the property. They're going to charge me $300. I'm going, they may have gotten thrown out. So I don't know. That's just one, you know, and like looking at my board, we got a ton of stuff going on. And Scott goes, Joe, the 10 properties, this is going to make up for just the one. And then the amount of time, well, the difference insane.
Yeah, I'm going through the same thing too. That's why I'm transitioning to commercial. So Gabe, you're full-time storage, right? Full-time commercial storage?
Yeah, full-time storage, Brian, yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Nice.
So,
Yeah, Barrington Barrington was kind of my inspiration. I see this dude, he takes more trips than anybody I know. I'm like, wait a minute, we're both doing the same business. How is this dude going to like Italy? He's going to Paris. He's going to, all these places he went to, and he still is building the business. And I really admired that. And then, Barrington Gabe reminds me of you a little bit. He's just a grinder. I mean, he gets on the phone, he grinds it out. He'll have a bad call, but that's okay. He's on to the next call.
Yeah.
And I remember Barrington doing that, man. He was just a grinder on the phone. And it's good, but so Barrington, what are you doing right now? You just I know you have a few rentals and such. Is that like the main thing you're doing now and then transitioning to commercial?
Yeah. Right now, just managing the rentals that I own. I'm at about 27 units. I have a couple properties under contract and short sales and stuff. But I'm in the process. I want to transition to commercial. I am going to. When I say commercial, I'm including multifamily, large multifamily. I'm not specifically sure which lane I'm going to go to, but I know residential, so that's why I'm thinking of multifamily. But I'm making that transition. I'm giving myself a year to purchase my first commercial property, whether that's large multifamily or storage facility. I'm giving myself a year from August, so I have 11 months left to purchase my first property. So I'm just listening to a bunch of podcasts. Matt Julian's podcast. I'm thinking of taking his coaching course. Listening to Marty's podcast. Listening to best what is it called? Best Ever Real Estate Investing Podcast. Listening to that and Andy McQuaid's podcast. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now. And I'm still buying residential. I'm still looking at stuff, until I make the transition. But yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
Thanks, man. Thanks for sharing that. Appreciate that.
Yep. I just took I found a free underwriting course, 5-day course. So I'm starting that today. So that's where I'm at. I'm at the very beginning stages of learning, but being very proactive.
how many hours a day are you studying and trying to learn stuff at Barrington?
So I would say I don't keep track of the hours, but I'm listening to the podcast all day, all night when I'm in the shower, when I'm cooking, on my downtime. I'm looking at material online throughout the day. So my goal is to, whatever you listen to, whatever you consume, it plays in your mind. So what I've been doing is replacing everything with just commercial stuff. So when I wake up, I think about it. When I go to sleep, I think about it. I hope that answers your question a bit, but And I plan on taking Matt Druin's coaching program either at the end of this year or the beginning of next year. And I've been active on LinkedIn now, because I see on LinkedIn there's a lot of commercial guys and girls on LinkedIn that I've been interacting with and stuff. But yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of money on LinkedIn. The downside is that there's a ton of everybody's sick of people in real estate being capital raisers, because there's like 1.5 million capital raisers and syndicators on LinkedIn now, because there's so much money there. They're doing the whole passive capital raising. I don't even know how many of them are going to get in trouble depending on how these lawsuits turn out, as far as what they determine to be a solicitation or not. So it's going to be a freaking mess. Like I'm not a fan. Now, that being said, I'm going on Whitney Sewell's show tomorrow. So
Joe, do you have any suggestions as far as transitioning into commercial, or how much
Wait. What was that last? I didn't understand you. Suggestions on
any suggestions on how one should make that transition, or how much time they should spend on education and things of that nature? Or
Well, I mean, I'm still learning. Like when it comes to when it comes to the storage, Scott, he's wiping my nose and changing my diapers because I'm learning from him. Okay, I still haven't learned to walk yet. I do what I can, and I also talk to Gabe. Obviously, you got to talk to as many people as possible. And then enough people in this group where you can go with them, say, look, you're going to look at a commercial property, I want to go with you, because everything is a little bit different. You're going to have different things to look at when you're looking at residential from an office building to a medical building, location, all that other stuff. And then obviously YouTube is just a free university, man. Whatever it is you want to learn about, it's there. And mentoring, most definitely. I'm trying to figure out who I'm starting to look at that too. I know I definitely need it. And especially with his, with it. I mean, Scott went from, 20 hours a week. You and I, Barrington, we can't even imagine 20 hours a week. I think that would stress us out, knowing that much free time. We're like, what are we gonna do?
Right.
Can't imagine it.
So, Joe, what at this point, what do you like more, multi-family or storage? Have you gotten there yet to where you prefer one over the other?
I don't know yet. I mean,
I'm gonna stop right there before Joe answers this question. He is not a self-storage owner. He owns 20% of one facility, so he is a 1/5 owner in self-storage.
And
That's wonderful.
And so we're about to do the second one. So Scott and I, I call myself a fractional owner. So it's going to take 5 to get 100%. So but the thing is that for right now I have more residential stuff than I do commercial. But obviously, the apartment complex that will close, but to me that's still considered residential. And remember, I still have my own portfolio that I have also.
Yeah.
On top of that. And then I figure, do I want to get rid of some of the smaller stuff? Eventually I may do that. I do like the tax write-offs, and compared to offset some of the other income that comes in. So I'll figure all that out in regards to transitioning with that. But eventually I know I just want to be able to get a check. So eventually it'll probably more toward just whether it be just commercial and that's it.
Okay. Diane, are you in commercial yet? Or are you in residential?
No, I'm in residential.
Okay.
So I haven't done the commercial at all.
Okay. Are you thinking of transitioning?
To residential commercial, larger apartment buildings, what I'd love to have. Yeah, that's my idea.
Okay, awesome. And Dan, are you in residential or commercial? Are you doing both?
Very small time on both. I like attending these Zoom meetings just to learn from everybody. There's a wealth of knowledge here. So I consider myself very small time, but would like to get bigger.
That's great. Great. Greg and Glenn, not sure if we met before. Okay, that's all I have.
I just don't know what.
Cool. And Barrington, I appreciate you asking those questions. Have you ever been to Gary Van Bordel or John Belinsky's meetings that they have?
I have, and I plan on going to the next one they're having this month.
There you go. And I would ask him, hey, next time you guys go view a property, if it's within, whatever distance is good with you, see if you can join along. I'm sure they'd be open to that. And Andy, those two are members of the REIA group, or what's
they're both free members, so they don't get to advertise or anything like that. They haven't paid for I don't think John has paid for a membership in like 3 years, and Gary let his lapse and just switched over to free. So
an idea, but we'll leave that one alone. I know Gabe has a question. I'm going to call him out here. Gabe and I were talking yesterday afternoon. I said, man, this might be good to bring up, on tomorrow's meeting if you wanted. So Gabe, if you want, go ahead and let's talk about that.
Yeah, so let's see what we can talk about. The self-storage facility. We have this facility in Kingsville, Texas. It's 12,000 square feet, 100 units. And we had it under contract for $625,000. After looking at the numbers and looking at everything, one of our buyers, Shane, and not just Shane, I'm sorry, I should say a lot of other people, because I also marketed on Facebook. With rents and the way that they are, all of them said they need to be around $500,000. And Scott, if you can jump in, to help me, to like if I miss something, whatever. So the question is that I mean, I guess, yeah, I'm gonna help Scott here because I can't remember exactly what you talked about yesterday. But the question is that right now the contract is ended, so to speak. We're supposed to be closing this property, well, a little while ago. Now the question is that the seller was not dead set. He was set on $625,000 because he thought that this property was going to make money, in the long run for anyone else. But once we saw that costs like taxes, which is $9,000, insurance, which is $10,000, we're already looking at about $20,000 bill just for those two items. And with rent raises in the area and the competition, and it's an oversaturated market, by the way. It's oversupplied by, I think, about, I can't remember how many thousand square feet, but they're all full. So that's a good thing. But we're just figuring out, is it a good, I guess, and again, Scott, correct me if I'm wrong, but to go back to the buyer or the seller and try to see if he's willing to renegotiate a lower price or price adjustment, cash, owner financing, or otherwise, to see if it's a good move to move this property and to get him to sell it, and possibly any pointers to where we can have this conversation, to what we can include in the conversation to convince and incentivize a seller to get him to adjust his price. I need to let you guys also know that I have a pretty good relationship with the seller. We shoot the shit every once in a while. He's a really cool guy, really easygoing. Well, I wouldn't say easygoing. Let me backtrack on that meaning, but he's a cool guy. So I'm just looking for, I guess, a little bit of assistance. And if you guys have any other questions on the property, what I do my best to answer. But also, Scott knows a lot about more of the property too, since he's has been dealing with this property and the property owner as well. So I'll open the floor.
So a little bit more on the property. The current owner pays like $5,200 a year for insurance. We're getting quotes of over $20,000 for insurance. The best quote we found was like $12,400. That's $7,000 more per year for insurance. And I never really used to look at cap rates, but now I do them in self-storage. $7,000 more a year equates to almost $100,000 at the cap rate in the value of the property. So we're gonna have to go back to the seller and negotiate. So I think what Gabe's looking for is, anybody have any input or advice on how to approach that with the seller, and have you done it in the past, and how's it come out?
So Scott, you guys think it's worth only 500,000, not 625?
Right. Yep.
I mean, have you guys said to him, listen, if we go to the bank, they're not going to finance us? Have you guys said that to him? At least that way it gets you guys out of the way and say, look, the bank is going to throw us right out because this is going to be a negative cash flow. And then blame the bank and then blame the insurance.
And the interest rates.
Yeah,
That was your plan of attack to call, I mean, so to speak. We haven't had that conversation yet, so we're actually, if you will, prepping for the conversation that we're about to have with them today.
Can't you send the quotes that you received for the high amount for insurance? Can't you send that to the owner just to show him like, hey, this is why the numbers aren't working. Here's proof and documentation. And the lowest quote we got is for 12 grand. Perhaps.
Yeah, we're actually going to do that. I had the conversation and say, hey, look, insurance has come back a lot higher than we thought it was. We want to talk to your current insurance provider, see if they're willing to like extend the insurance you have. We had the conversation with the insurance company. He doesn't know this yet, but we will let him know today. We had a conversation with his insurance company. They said, yeah, we will not be renewing him at that rate. His new rate is going to be, at 12,400. And that might be something that he knows, and he doesn't have to disclose that, of course, but, he may know that that's coming. So he was very, he's like, yeah, here's my insurance company. Give him a call. He goes, I do not have a relationship with them. I just sent him a check. So I don't know anybody there that could, maybe help you. But, he gave us the office and we did talk to them. They were familiar with the property, but, they said, and what we're going to use is interest rates have gone up. Occupancy has gone down. We used to base it on a 90% occupancy. Now we're down to 85% occupancy. Cap rates have changed. We've gone from like a 6 cap to like an 8 cap now when we're selling properties. And let's see, I think the other thing was just really that's about, we're just going to go back to them, but I like the thing about the bank, Andy, that you said, we kind of put it back on a bank and say, hey, financial lenders that we're talking to and stuff, they're valuing the property at this,
Yeah, just tell them the business plan doesn't work anymore.
yeah.
Like the numbers don't lie. Like the business plan is there, the market's oversaturated, there's all this other stuff going in. Like the bank isn't approving the business plan because the business plan negative cash flows.
And
That's it.
And Scott, what's the current cap rate at the price he wants to get for it?
7%, 6%,
what is it, you think?
7 or 6. I can't remember.
I think it's 6 because he's only 54% occupied.
Yeah.
But then you're going to be paying, well, obviously once you get it filled up, but then, up front, you say, look, we're going to be making 6% return, but the bank's going to charge us 8-9+% negative cash flow right off the bat. The bank is going to see that. I mean, I would definitely go that route.
You should. Anybody else have any input on that? The input you're giving is great. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I know Gabe did this.
I got nothing else.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's just numbers.
Yeah.
And by the way, as far as for his insurance, Scott, when your insurance is going to go up, especially that high, they send you a letter. Say, hey, just so that way your insurance is going to be going up. So he may.
The thing is, though, that I need to tell you that as far, I don't know if you're referring to the current owner, but what he did was the reason why he got insured, he never really had insurance on the property. He was self-insured. And the reason why he got insurance on the property, and I mean, at minimum, the minimum coverage is to kind of cover. The bank had to tell him because I think he was taking equity out of the property to fund his retirement property up north. And so he needed to have an insurance policy on it. And I remember I actually had a conversation with him a while ago about insurance, and he's aware that the new owner, whoever it may be, is going to pay a lot more insurance. We didn't get really into details about that, but he's very aware that it's going to be a lot more and significantly more. What's more is that insurance rates are going up across the country, because I actually saw a Facebook post this morning in one of the self-storage groups that this person in, I think, Missouri or somewhere in the Midwest is paying $11,000 a year. So insurance is just not in the coastal states, just for so you guys know, for self-storage and whatever. It's all over. insurance is going up, and I think we need to start factoring in as far as expense ratios to start to creep up from 35 to maybe 38 to 40% or more, because costs go up. Any business, my costs went up in the restaurant, same thing. So that 35% ratio may not work by next year, Scott. So let's listen up, in my opinion. So it just started to happen.
Okay, cool.
Sorry to
was
go off
that?
track, but
What was that? That was weird. All right. Anyway, so it's actually funny we're talking about insurance because Saturday, I'm releasing a podcast where I work with a national insurance broker, and we talk about all the insanity of all the insurance increases and where the industry is going and what price increases are coming. And yeah, they're going up everywhere. It's going to be the worst. Like, they're not done in Florida and Texas and Alabama along the coast and Louisiana. Like, it's going to get worse. It's going to keep going up because they wrote down, and he gives the exact numbers in the interview, but they wrote down as an industry in 2021, they wrote down, I don't know, 8 billion in losses. And in 2022, they wrote down like 30 or 40 billion in losses as an industry. So they haven't made money since like 2019. So they're just taking it all now. So everywhere, it doesn't matter what state you're in, your insurance is going to go up. So we talked about like doing captives, self-insuring, like how to mitigate risk, and like there's all that crap, but it's not coming out till Saturday. So anyway.
All right. Perfect. And by the way, I know we're like way over here, by the way. Got anything else to add on that answered your question, Scott?
Yeah, I'm good. Appreciate it, Gabe. We answer your question on that then. A little more help, a little more
yeah,
input.
thank you.
All right. I know people got busy schedule. Yeah, I'll let you people run. Don't worry about having to hang out. I can hang out for another 5 minutes myself. So if anybody wants to sit down and chat, great. If anybody has any questions, go ahead. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate everybody coming in.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Yeah, well, she's high before doing it.